show. I am sitting here in the comfort of my office. Hope that each and every one of you are doing well, and I hope that you feel like talking tonight. I am relaxing and just thinking today, do I have everything that I need to have before things get really tight? And the answer to that is I have one more item that I would like to have in my awesome before things get a little tighter. Hello, how you doing? I'm glad you caught my show today. Yes. Um, so that being said, I am I am thinking about food. I'm always thinking about food, but now here lately, I'm thinking about how to eat healthy, and not because of New Year's. Good evening. Good evening. Um, Not because of necessarily New Year. I just want to do things better. Hello, how you doing, Mr. Price? I'm glad I caught you. Mr. Price, I hope you got my message I sent you. I appreciate you sending me a comment. I appreciate when anyone sends me a comment on some of the shows that I do because I always make it a point to get back in touch with that person. And so I went to some of the stores in my location. Thank you. I'm glad you got it, Mr. Price. So that being said, Brussels sprouts I want to try growing because um, I ate. I've tried them fresh off the farm, and I also tried them fresh. I mean, fresh frozen. I guess is what they do to them. Good evening. Good evening. And everything that I can say about Brussels sprouts, I've never tasted them until I tasted them fresh. It is a big, big, big difference. Absolutely a big difference. Had I known years ago that Brussels sprouts could be that good, I would have been growing them. I've never grown them before, so that's going to be interesting. Nice little fall crop. Um, where I'm at right now, in a few more months, I'll be starting some of my seedlings, and I always grow my items in bulk. That's what I do. I like to grow them in bulk, and I use a mix. I make my own mix. I don't buy soil or seed starter mix from the stores, and I use one part. Um, oh, okay. I think you're speaking about the Brussels sprouts. They take a long time, but they're worth it. I think that's what you're saying. Because right now I'm thinking about seedlings. I thought you meant seedlings to grow seedlings. Uh, but the thing about it is when I grow my seedlings, I use a one part compost, homegrown compost, and we're going to talk a little bit about compost because I really want all of you to get into compost a little bit heavier if you haven't gotten into it yet. Compost grows food that's rich, tasty, and it grows strong plants. That being said, um, I'm thinking about you want to do a mix that's one part compost, one part vermiculite or that's a vermiculite, and what's the other one? I can't think of it right now. It's like white popcorn. That's how I refer to it. One part of perlite, one part compost, one part peat moss. mixed thoroughly, and you will have an excellent soil mix. So I will do my peppers early because it usually takes them a little bit longer to get started out the gate. So I get them once these temperatures start going up. I'll do my peppers, label everything thoroughly because sometimes I hate when labels start dropping off and you don't remember what was in the containers and you just have to plan them out. Let me see. Okay, so you get that. And what's the other thing? Um, Hopefully, I heard something at work a couple days ago. I don't know if any of you heard. Are we getting another stimulus check? I don't know how true it is. I've been hearing a little bit of talk about it here and there, so I don't know how true that is. But every little bit helps. So what I'm looking at is that I'm thinking about making my own soil mix a little different this year. I might use a also use vermiculite in it as well. But at any rate, I read some people were maybe senior citizens. Okay, mainly senior citizens that you read. Okay, thank you. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Okay, so I get my pepper started early. I will be doing watermelons and see how that works. And once I get all my plants done, I'll save a ton of money because I don't buy seedlings from stores. Buying one plant for close to $3.50 last year, I could grow for that price. I grow 50 of them. So I don't want to do that. I want to do the way I've been doing it, which is start my own seedlings. So the only thing, the beans I'll do this year, I'm going to do some bush beans, um, and I'm considering corn. It moved from being the middle part of my list all the way down to the bottom because it's going to be kind of difficult this year. And I have fertilizer. Don't get me wrong. But do I want to use it in that manner? So I want to use something that's very high in nitrogen. So if I do need nitrogen fertilizer, and I don't run out and buy a blood meal, then I'll just use a tea that I will make from grass, which is high in nitrogen. So that's also an option. Uh, I mean, I mean, folks, I have a ton. I mean, I have a ton of different brands of fertilizer. I have tons of it. I got it from 2 years ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. I went out and just started, and I always tell people, I said, look, buy these fertilizers in the dead of winter when no one's thinking about gardening, no one's thinking about planning for their garden for the most part. And I just go ahead and get it done up front. So I remember last year, was it last year? Yeah, last year. I was collecting um, uh, compost because I didn't have any compost at the time. I didn't get any made up, being a little lazy. And so the compost was, I don't know how many bags I bought. I bought over 1,000 pounds of a compost and delivered it here one trip at a time. Um, and finally uh, got it all delivered, and the bags are frozen solid like bags of cement. And I stacked them all, counted them, and waited for spring. That's all I did. Um, and I did use the compost in certain, you know, all of plants really, but the main ones got it was corn and watermelon is the ones I did. Um, which, by the way, I wasn't successful with the watermelons this past year. They grew and then they stopped, and it was just like, they're really are hungry plants, and if you don't have the time for them, and I work a lot, if you don't have the time for them, watermelons might not be the plant for you. I'm just saying, if you can't every day, every other day, water them, make sure that they have a good amount of fertilizers high in nitrogen, and then you want to make sure certain that you get a little bit of bone meal and a little bit of blood meal on the watermelons to make sure that they are definitely fed, because watering they need, because they are actually just watermelon. So they do well if you take care of them. Start the plants early. If you live in a zone like myself, which is 7B, you will have a situation where you get them planted out, and that would early enough so they have enough time to mature. Also, cantaloupe is another one that is a fruit that's also sweet and great in the summer. Honeydew is another beautiful fruit to have, um, and and when you eat these melons, you collect the seeds from these melons because they're already familiar with how you're growing, what soil you're using. They're familiar, and you want to do it that way. Make sure you save those seeds, store them away. Seeds are so valuable, and most people back in the day, remember back in the day, we used to just buy something, grow it, eat it, and then go right back out the next year and try to go buy some more seeds. Well, those days are gone, because seeds are. Think about it. Once you grow the seed and it becomes familiar with the DNA, if you will, of your soil, and it becomes familiar, and it grows better in your soil, and it grows the way you want it to grow. That is a plus, because keep remember this: the seeds that you're getting come from a source where they were grown in perfect temperatures, perfect food supply, perfect temperature to the water it was given, and everything was flawless. And they grow these seeds out, they get the seeds, and they sell them to you. Now, you try to get those same seeds home and try to have that same success. Same success. But the parent seeds, if you will, came from uh, being raised in a flawless conditions. And then you get them home and you try to forget one day to water, or you put them in soil that doesn't have the exact right pH that you want, that it needs or wants, and then you start noticing that they're not doing very well. Your tomatoes that come in these catalogs, these high class, I call them catalogs, and you get these seeds and they show you these beautiful, flawless pictures of uh, uh, tomatoes with the ones with the water dripping off of them. That thing that catches your eye and you says, ah, I like to grow some tomatoes like that. I like to grow some apples like that. Yeah. And then you buy them and you catch yourself struggling with these these plants, because in order to grow them, this soil has to be the balance of what the parents were crossed and produced. So those seeds come from that, and when they come from that, you're trying to grow them your way. with your clay soil and your soil that has a different pH and a different how sweet the soil is, and and your soil's not like what these professionals are producing these seeds to grow in. They produce them. It can be done, but they are growing them in an environment where it's flawless. We're talking about people who know. Hi, Morning Gardener. How are you? Hello, how are you? All right, there. Thank you for just dropping by. Thank you. So you get these seeds, and keep in mind, none of the stuff that you grow, these seeds are grown. They've been altered by man, so they're not as strong as some of the plants that are in your yard right now. Like your weeds, they're just not as strong as them because they've been altered. They are the runts of the plant world. So you have to do everything in your power to keep these things alive, and so that things don't eat them up, and so that they don't. I mean, they're weak. So you have to feed them and stay on top of them and water them. And the only way you can get them out of that um, way of surviving or living, you have to grow these seeds, and you may have a number of them that die if you say, well, I'm not going to water them every day, or I'm not going to feed them every day, or whatever. And then you might put out 20 plants, 50 plants, and out of that 50 plants, you may have 3 or 4 plants that survive. Those are the ones you want to get the seeds from, because those are the ones that are going to be strong. And then you keep using those seeds from that plant. And each time you use them, they'll get stronger and stronger and more familiar. And you grow them away from that uh, that weakness, if you will, that the way that their parents grew up, being in a flawless environment where the soil was the perfect temperature and the perfect water, and you got so you just can't bring them, throw them in your yard and say, all right, I'm gonna get plants that look like the one in these catalogs. I'm gonna have plants like that. The only way you can have plants like that is, one, you know what you're doing. That's very important. Survival of the fittest, nursery way. Oh, it blinked away. You're absolutely right. Survival of the fittest. But they've been altered. They're altered. If you look at the history of plants, and you just see that the carrots that originally were put on this planet weren't like the carrots you see today. The strawberries weren't like the strawberries you see today. Okay, um, and God knows apples have been altered and moved around from one way that it came into the world. And the day you look at them, they have so many different apple varieties. You'd have to Google it to find out how many different apple uh, varieties that they have that are suitable to eat. Um, so compost is definitely something you want to start leaning towards, folks. If you haven't used compost, or you used to use compost, or you use it sometimes and sometimes you don't, folks, a lot of your pros, the ones that grow the giant fruit, the giant vegetables, the giant pumpkins, compost, compost. And then you have a couple that use all kind of chemistry where they put needles and all kinds of drugs into the plant and stretch out certain uh, uh, parts of the plant's DNA. Yeah, but for the most part, the world's largest pumpkin was grown using compost. So when that happens, that tells you something. Compost is some powerful stuff. So you want to make certain that you have good compost. Now, I have, I don't know how much, I got a truckload of compost sitting out there right now on the ground. Been sitting there for a year. And my mind is focusing on getting another truckload. It's in the dead of winter. They're not cutting down any trees right now for the most part. Um, but my mind is focused on getting another load of, you know, wood chips. But it's hard getting wood chips into my yard. And I mean, because if he can get to the back of my property, I would like to have him come to the back of my property because that way he could dump it and I don't have to move this stuff around. So that's where I'm at with it, folks. Getting it dumped in the right spot. That's all I need. And where I have it dumped now, if he were to bring me some, I can't have him dump a fresh pile on top of my old pile. Um, I want it dumped at the back of my property, right near my fruit trees. It'll sit there. It'll already take care of the fruit trees, and it'll sit there. And when I need it, I just go up there and get a 5 gallon bucket at a time and put it in places where I want to put it at, and let it just sit there for a year. And that's how you do wood chips. And in that area, I could probably take up to 2 truckloads, which is close to around 20,000 pounds, and I could use that for God knows how many years, and not have to worry about it for at least about 4 years. Compost, load it up, have it full of worms, and when I do my fishing this year, I can absolutely just go in my compost pile and pull up as many of the biggest and strongest night crawlers you ever want to see. You ever want to lay eyes on. But grass, good fertilizer. Weeds, superior fertilizer. Weeds are. And people don't, and there's so many companies out there that don't want you to know that. They don't want you to have that knowledge that these some of these weeds are so strong that if you used them and saw how well they grow things, you would never go back to your box store for fertilizer. You wouldn't do it. And this year, it's going to test some people because people are going to get enough, or they're going to get fed up with the high price of these fertilizers. And they're going to try to buy them at first, but the price is going to keep going up and up and up and up and up. And there's going to be a lot of fertilizers. It's going to be hard to find. I mean, because they're going to allocate so much of it towards the farmers. They're going to get first choice. I don't care because fertilizers are too easy to make, and you can make them absolutely free. If I need fertilizer, and I'm also do 47 gallons of liquid fertilizer I'm going to do this year. And trust me, 47 gallons is one of those trash receptacles that you fill up with water, rainwater, preferably. Um, but you put in a quarter amount of weeds and grass. Leave it for about 3 weeks, at the minimum, 3 weeks. And then when you start using it, I leave the lid open and let the rain just rain inside of it. Uh, and I'm going to repair my rain barrel system so that I can get um, what I want inside the rain barrels. Because my rain barrels have not worked for almost 2 years, and that's sad. Because I had an issue with the valve that fits inside of the rain gutter. Um, it's worn out, or the rubber doesn't capture water like it used to, and it's hard finding what I need without buying a whole kit. And I don't want a whole kit. I just want that one rubber piece. Needless to say, it's expensive. The rainwater is superior for your garden. Weeds make an excellent fertilizer. And when you mix it down, use 1 part to 10 parts of water. And you pour them at the base of your plants every 2 to 3 days. And you'll say to yourself, why in the name of what is holy have I not done this before? The morning gardener might look like a crazy man, but he definitely knew what he was talking about. Look at this. Look at my corn. Look at my tomatoes. Oh my goodness. And 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 you make this fertilizer, and you could strain it if you want to. If you want to get real fancy with it, strain it. Uh, that way, it's easy to add to a water can. Um, and some people will get those socks from the paint companies. I mean, paint like Home Depot and Lowe's. It fits over a 5 gallon container, and when it fits over those containers, I buy all of my fertilizer in the winter and the season. Thank you, thank you. I'm glad you buy your fertilizer in the winter. Dead of winter is when you want to get it. But you pour the fertilizer into the paint strainer, 5 gallon or a gallon, whichever one you feel you want to afford or buy or work with, and you pour it in. And when you pour it in there, it'll strain it. And you could take that strained and you pour 1 part, and then that's it. You mean weeds that people try to get rid of? Yeah, yeah, weeds people try to get rid of. Those weeds, powerful stuff, powerful. And I'll explain a little bit more on that in just a second. But when you strain it and you pour it into a container, about that much, whatever size container you're using, you want to use 1 part to 10 parts of water. And when you do that and you pour them at the base, look out. In the morning time, you want to do it in the morning so that if you get any liquid on the leaves, it has time to dry throughout the day. Do not do it in the evening. Do not do it at night because it's going to sit there all night, and it's going to be a mess of mold and cause certain germs to develop at night. You don't want that. You want to do it in the morning, and it'll all through the day. It'll give it time to dry. What was the other thing I was on? Yes, weeds have a uh, most weeds most weeds that I have on my location have long tap roots. Like you got dandelions and you got what's it? What's the little four leaf clovers or clovers? All that's powerful stuff, folks. And don't do like some of these videos tell you go out there and only get the comfy, only get the comfy. And then and they throw you off when they do that. They say, I'll get this, and then the comfy, and then I'll get some of this. I'm looking at this going, look at this. He found a way to turn around and make this complicated, and it's not complicated because in the forest, got to go back to Mother Nature. When a plant hits the ground, it goes back into the ground. When it dies, it goes back into the ground. The ground doesn't say, "Oh no, no, you're not comfy. We can't use you." No, it doesn't do that. It actually uses all living matter. That's what the ground does. The biology eats, lives, and dies in a location, excretes its waste and everything right there. And your plant eats it. And when plants are getting Morning Garden Show, watch you often. Oh, thank you for watching my show. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm getting people to watch my show sometime, but I'm trying to tell everybody You know, with these shows I've been doing here lately, the last 4 shows, watch out because food gonna get crazy this year. And I'm the only one out there right now putting the message out of the gardening part of it, because there will be other things that you're gonna have to do to survive. But food is essential, and you're gonna need to know that you can grow a beautiful, well kept garden and don't have to spend a dime on it, other than getting your genetics to put in the ground, which is weeds. And there he is, folks. There he is. I recognize this man here, Food Forest Permaculture. He's been around, he's been doing it. Let's see what he wrote here. Hello, Morning Gardener and fellow Earthlings. All right. That's what he says when he comes on. Um, but yeah, grow what you can. And folks, when I get my computer back up, I get my computer back up, I'm gonna get into some of that fancy stuff people do with the graphics and all of that stuff, because I used to be into that. But I'm so focused on just telling the truth about this gardening. Is a guy, is a gentleman, is a gardener. He's on. Oh, I can't remember his name. People bring him up a lot. Uh, but he sells stuff. He sells stuff online, and they sell stuff, and and I'm with making money, but they'll take something that they know, and they'll kind of do like that on you, misguide you, and then you'll go run off and buy their product because they'll tell you you need this in order to grow your plants. And and I go and I look again back at my teacher, which is Mother Nature, and I see her every year don't do anything but drop leaves, weeds, branches on the ground. Sometimes she'll lay a whole tree down on the ground, and they'll sit there. And when you come back in a few years, the entire tree will be gone. Nobody came out there to move it. Nobody came out there to clean it up. But where did it go? 1,000-pound tree gone. It went right back to where it came from. And everything that's in that area will use what was once alive to survive. And that's all your plants do. If you just simply create an environment that's conducive to their environment, they will survive for the most part. Even though you're using weak seeds from these catalogs, and you're saying to yourself, well, why do you say they're weak? Because man touched them. That's why. Man touched them. And when man touch anything, look out. Mother Nature is the ideal source, and she knows the cycle of life and death. That, absolutely. You said it right there. You said it right there. So when I discovered this one time, years ago, because I was out there every year, and I was spending hundreds of dollars, and I was going to the store, and I was trying to get information from people. Nature makes 1 inch of soil every 10 years. 1 inch of soil every 10 years. Interesting. Every 10 years, as it can make 10 inches of soil a day. Yep. There you go. Thank you very much, Food Forest Permaculture. Thank you. Um, so think about this. If you just follow the way that Mother Nature doing it, no other gardener could get online and make a fool out of you and sell your product. No other store could put a shiny um, package on the shelf showing you, those fruit. and vegetables with the with the raindrops on it, or what they call, they spray it with water and then they take a picture of it and it shows it's shiny and with the raindrops on it. And you buy that fertilizer and you go, oh, this has got to be the stuff right here. This is it. I can't wait to get in the garden. I can't wait. When you get out there and you struggle, and there's a guy right across from you could be gardening, and he's using leaves that he saved from the fall. He's using grass clippings, and he's outgrowing you every year. Big tomatoes, big uh, uh, um, cucumbers, and he's doing it every year. And you got to go to yourself, how's he doing that? And it's that compost. The compost is a monster. That compost is a monster. And don't forget those wood chips. People keep telling you when they show you these videos. I said that is why a crops taste as good because of man. It's a taste the crops taste so good. Yeah, man, touch them. Man, touch them. So I tried my best. I got seeds from what's the name of that place called? I ain't gonna call it name because I'm not sending no business that way because I don't know what they're doing right now. I just don't know. But I bought some spineless okra seeds about 5 maybe 7 years ago. Still got the same seeds, folks. Only difference is they grow better on my property. Why? Because every year I use the same seeds. And when the plants mature, I take the seeds and I grow them and I use the food from them. And the okra tastes incredible. And some of them I let go to seed. Go to seed. That's what I let them do. And I tell you, it's a beautiful thing. And when you have lettuce are good. Lettuce are expensive now. When you grow your lettuce, eat your lettuce, and then when they start bolting, don't look at that all the time. People tell you it's a bad thing, but it's not. When your lettuce go to bolting, here's what you do. When your lettuce go to bolting, you take those seeds from that plant, hang them up, let them dry, and when you let them dry, you do that. Put them in a envelope. Write the label what they are, what kind of lettuce, what year you put them away. Staple it closed, and you got fresh seeds for the next year. Fresh seeds. Same thing you can do with Swiss chard, okra, tomatoes, cucumbers. When you start doing that, and you want to get these, what is the heirloom variety? But one that somebody kept growing over and 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 over again. That's all it is. And I see people grow. They save food scraps, and that's a wonderful thing if that's all you have. But I look at it this way: if you can grow, I say you're correct. Oh, thank you, absolutely correct. When you grow, when you grow food, when you use food scraps from the grocery store, and it was grown in a hothouse, and it has very poor nutrition, you can use that if that's all you have. But you better off when I tell you, you better off with leaves. You better off with grass clippings. You better off because um, you get enough of those leaves. And I used to get them. I used to get them by the. Oh my God! I get about 1,000 pounds of them leaves. Um, it was a beautiful thing. The neighbor, not the neighbor, neighbor friend would bring them, and I would always want to be home when he brought them in because I mean he would lay. Sometimes he would lay the leaves on top of little baby trees I had. He didn't see them. He didn't know. He would lay them on baby trees. He would walk through my yard. He would knock down stuff, and I would say, ah. So I had to go out there one time and cover no, about 4 or 5 feet of leaves from off of an apple tree because it was laying right on top of it that I planted 2 months ago. But those leaves laid there, and I want you to understand this, folks, and some of you already know. They turned into some of the blackest, prettiest uh, material you want to use in a garden. Perfect stuff. Had had night crawlers in it near the bottom. Up top was the red wigglers. And I'm gonna tell you what I did. I'm gonna tell y'all this little story. I went out and go fishing sometime, and I buy red wigglers and about a dozen of them. Didn't catch any fish, so I take about 8 or 9 of them, and I take the rest of them and dump them into um, the leaves, and they would barrel down through these leaves, and before you know it, I got thousands of red wigglers, thousands. I mean thousands, all up at the top layers. And I'm using these as worms. I'm saying, look at the size of these red wigglers because they just eat all the time. Down on the bottom, I went fishing and I got me some night crawlers. Caught like same thing. Caught about they had about 6 left over. Throw them in there. Year and a half later, down near the bottom around the outer walls, loaded with some of the biggest night crawlers you ever want to see in your life. And when this happens, folks, that's called taking control of your situation. I go fishing, I go over there, and I get some of the biggest night crawlers. And the only problem that I had with them is they were so fat, they didn't really fit on the fish hooks. And they were so long and fat that when you are digging in the pile, you have to draw back your hand first because you think that's a baby snake or something. And it's not. It's just a worm. Yeah. So you can do that. The leaves are the key. That's your carbon. And then you get that those weeds and all the grass. You got something special. Can't nobody tell you nothing when you start growing stuff with that. And when you start using it, see, so I'm gonna have that going. I got, like I said, a whole truckload, not a whole truckload, but close to a whole truckload of wood chips been sitting out there for a year. That's gonna be some pretty stuff. So I got that completely free. Um, and they called me up and left a message on my service. And when I got it, I said, "Oh my goodness!" At first, I was thinking wrong at the time. I said, "I don't have any room to put any of the um, what they call it, and to put any wood chips." But I found a place. I'm gonna find a place. Listen to this. Listen to this.
Hi, this is Amy with Arbor Tree Experts. We had given you some wood chips a while back, and I was just following up to see if that was something that you were still interested in possibly needing. If you could give me a call back at 410-239-6888.
And you hear that? They're giving them away. That's fertilizer. And I'm gonna make use of that. I gotta look at the back of my yard. It's got a phone wire running across and see if that truck can get in there. If that truck can get in there and he can dump, I'm gonna have him dump it there all the time. I'm gonna have them dump that there all the time because it's easier for me to work with it from that point. Yeah, leaves keep your beds alive. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Well, folks, I'm talking you all to death. I'm sorry about that. I apologize because I sometimes get a roll going, and I meant to, get a little bit of information out and then go ahead but I said to myself, you talking these people to death. I'm telling you, I just love gardening. Gardening is just such, it's with, I've had friends leave, I had jobs roll out, I've had cars break down. My garden never left me. My garden never left me. And it's therapeutic being in the garden. Calms your nerves, eases your mind. Ah, the birds. See, I even get relaxed when I'm thinking about my garden. I get relaxed. It's just a powerful, if you will, beautiful thing. I mean, I put in the fruit trees. Um, it's like being in a little forest, and I go out there and I sit and I walk around and I look at the apples, pears, and I should get some plums this year. And I look at them and I go, wow. And I'm still looking for, and I don't think your soil is over the winter months really good to go ready to go for winter, spring. I think what you type there, I kind of wish this thing would stop blinking off. It does this, and then it just blinks away. But here's what's happening. I'm sitting here in my house, in my office, and my garden is out there fertilizing itself. Every weed, every plant that I grew, I left out there. Why would I do double work? That's how I work now. Why would I do double work? All the grass that was in the garden, all the weeds, they're laying under snow. Um, they are going into the soil when the spring comes in, Lord willing. I will go out, and one of the best tools I use to for my garden is I chop and drop. Oh yeah, yeah, I've done that too. I've raked my leaves onto the ground where my garden is. I've done that. That's a good idea. But I take and I go over with a very low cutting setting with my lawnmower or my tractor, and I cut down all the weeds. I cut down all the grass to the lowest level I can get it, and I leave it. That is it. That's right. Work with nature. That's right. Yes, that's right. Working with nature, and I leave it there. I take my trees and I prune them, and I leave everything down at the base of um, of the tree. I don't haul it over here and haul it over there for what? Just to bring it back. Now, I told my neighbor, excuse me, a friend of mine, I told him to, because he's, one of them neat people, and there's nothing wrong with being neat. I said, when you prune your tree, leave it at the base of the tree. Back it off away from the trunk of the tree, uh, 6 inches. And just, you can cut them up into pieces like this and put them around your tree. And they eventually, about a year later, you come there and it'll be gone. It'll absolutely be gone. So that's how I do it. And that's how you do it. I put grass clippings everywhere uh, in my situation because I know leaf mold is gold. Absolutely, it is. And don't forget, and don't leave out those weeds either. Don't leave the weeds out. I'm telling you, don't leave the weeds out. Don't leave the weeds out. Weeds are some powerful stuff. I'm just sitting here thinking, folks. My head is doing this. I couldn't sleep last night because I just kept thinking about gardening, 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 gardening. I get this way every. I mean, I get the shakes. It's like I get the shakes, and gardening. I just got to get out there. And you should see some of the. I like it when a plant grows really strong, and what makes that grow strong like that is, like I said, putting that compost down there. Use that compost. Lay it in there. And when you do the compost, when you put it down, everything falls through the soil. So I put everything on top. Everything on top. And and I put down and I grow extra plants. Always grow yourself some extra plants. Now you're asking me a question about copper. Let's see. Copper fungicide for peaches leaf curl. All right, let me tell you something about leaf curl. You can put it on a tree, it helps. Leaf curl is a disease that usually when a peach tree gets it, that's pretty much it. You can help control it. Yes, you can with the copper. You won't get rid of it. It's something about peach tree that um, that's not going nowhere. It's on peach trees, and it comes back. You can buy a brand new peach tree, put it in your property, and just wait about 2 or 3 years, and just keep looking at the leaves, and you will see it on there. But yeah, it'll help control it. It'll help control it. So I have nothing against a person who use copper. Get it early in the year before it really cranks up. All the information is on the container how to use it. But yeah, leaf curl, um, peach trees are definitely susceptible to that. And then you got other diseases that apples get, apple scab, and all this, um, and fire blight that you got that hits pear trees and a number of other trees. But yeah, um, yeah, some people try to buy varieties that are not so susceptible to certain diseases. Leaf curl. I got let's see how many, one, two, three, four. I have four peach trees that have peach curls. It's been on the trees for years, and eventually they'll kill the tree. They will kill a tree as the tree gets older. And peach trees don't live that long. I mean, they'll give you peaches sometime up to 12 years, and then you got to get make a plan to replace them and that sort of thing. Okay, you take care. It was good having you as part of the show. Thank you. I'm happy about gardening. And now that we having this emergency that's coming up with the government's hollering about, I mean, the newscast companies, and there's some fertilized companies that shut down, and then there's some countries that won't ship it out of their country for a period of time. They're not going to do it. Gas prices are going up, so fertilizer prices will be affected by that as well. I'm telling you, we gonna see we gonna see something about food prices this year. But I have a plan. Excuse me, expensive foods, costly foods, same thing. I will be able to have those on my dinner plate. Fruit, fresh, I will have them. And some of your neighbors are going to get desperate as this carries on. If you got apples growing all in your trees and you got pears growing in your trees, your neighbors are going to see that stuff. And they're going to remember the last time they went to the market and they saw a bag of apples for almost $15 or something, or whatever they send the price up to, and they're gonna think about you are sitting around there with a tree full of apples. Why not give it a chance and try to get some of them? Parsley and cilantros. Let me see what that says again. Parsley and cilantro seeds helpful early spring harvest. Yes, definitely grow that. Folks, that's a very good point you brought up. Don't forget your herbs. You can cook fresh food, fresh poultry, fresh fish with these herbs, and it'll taste absolutely incredible. I used to make pesto from my sweet basil. Really good stuff. I'm having a good time here. I'm talking to each of you, and I wish there was a way to get my channel out there more. It's good. It's a good. It's a good conversation. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's just that I am not all that savvy with getting the word out there because I see people with not anywhere near the content that I try to put out, and they're getting paid on their channels. They're getting paid, and God bless them for that. But I wish I could learn how to do that. But it takes. You got to find out how to do it, and then once you find out how to do it, and do a number of shows, and make sure your show is consistent, and that you have the information in front of you that people will go look at and go, um, it's a good deal. I do feel good that I have some people looking at the show, but state of emergency, state of emergency. Let's do what we got to do. Put these plans into action. Um, I mean, I got a boatload of seeds in there, and all I'm going to do to them this year is basically regrow them and stock up on my seeds as well from my own container. Just grow them out, save the seeds. If I grow melons, keep the seeds, um, because uh, every year your seeds get older. That's in your stock, and you want to refurbish them or redo them. And another thing is, um, when you do your seeds over, make sure that they're heirlooms. Those hybrids don't produce exact. They don't produce exact. And when you go online, please stay away from some of these gardening quote unquote gurus that is giving out misinformation. They've been gardening for a year, and then they're telling you how to do stuff. It's just not right because they're giving people misinformation, and they're setting people back, and they're making people struggle or spend money. Um, that's not right. If you don't know, it's the best thing to say on your show before you go. Come on and say, "This is how I do it," and then that makes sense. This is how I do it. This is what works for me. This is how I do it, and that's a disclaimer right there. When you have shows on, I'll give you a good example. It was a show. It was so many videos I watch every day. Uh, Yeah. Now I think you were saying to the persons do your homework. Um, the information is so wrong at even its core. If you go to, yeah, absolutely. But what I'm saying is that when people put out information, whether it be in book form, whether it be even if you call your agriculture department, they give out misinformation, and they'll tell you, well, this is what works for that. And this one, they won't tell you that one of the reasons why stuff is not working for you, things are not growing for you, is because you're using seeds that were man-made. And you go, well, what do you mean by that? Well, they have pampered these seeds, if you will, made them weak, if you will. They crossed them and then they gave them the perfect conditions, and then you try to take them and grow them on your property, and here you got soil that that is just filled with different balance, and you try to make that stuff grow. You got hard clay, and majority of us do have clay soil, but you have hard clay. You got pH that's different, um, and your soil basically is poor. So there are ways to make that soil rich again, and compost is one of those ways. And then you still got people that are telling you to still till. That's dead wrong. Wrong. It's absolutely wrong at its core. To take soil, churn it up. Think about that. Churn it up, and then put a plant in there, and you expect it to grow when you have disturbed the biology in the soil that makes its home in your soil. And you turn this soil and you destroy their homes, and then you wonder why your soil's getting harder and harder and harder each year. Not good. So that's all I'm saying. I just simply think that you have to understand how to do gardening or farming nature's way. Nature grows all kind of plants next to each other. Okay, I see. Well, thank you very much. I see so much information out there, but when you listen to it, I mean, it was one gentleman. I'll give you an example. I don't dig in my soil. Don't dig in my soil. Better not catch somebody digging in my soil. And I simply think that we learn from what we've heard, what we've seen. And some farmers have been doing stuff a certain way so long, they don't even know why they even started doing it that way, but they still do it. It still carries on a tradition. Well, this must be done this way. Why? Because it's the way we always did it. So why should we continue to do it that way? Because my father and his father and his father before him did it that way. Okay, doesn't make it right. And everything they used back then, if you go back in the 40s and uh, 30s and 40s, even the 50s, and look at the the value that the fruit and the vegetables, as far as nutrition had back then, fruits and vegetables don't have that now. They don't have that now. They do not have that now. The stuff today you growing, They growing stuff in hot houses. They call it something else now. They got some of them the size of football fields, and they grow food there. And then you buy that trash and you eat it, and wonder why you ate a whole daggone salad with cucumbers and lettuce and tomatoes and onions and everything, and you still feel no energy burst. You don't feel no energy whatsoever. Well, you grow your food with ground up um, uh, non-organic fertilizer. Plant grows like crazy. Why are the bugs eating it up? Because it's growing too fast. Well, what do you mean by that? Is that there is a cycle that this plant grows on, and when you set it, give it steroids in a sense to grow fast, and this plant just is tender. Yeah, blood bugs are gonna eat it up. Absolutely. And then there's another thing. When bugs get a signal that your plant is in distress, they come and eat it. That's their job. They're only doing their job. And why are they in distress? Sometimes the plants are not being watered properly. Sometimes the plants are not getting enough nutrition, and they're in a process where they're sending out a signal because they're struggling to survive, and the bugs go right for it and eat it up. And why isn't my fruit tree producing fruit? Like when I looked in a magazine and I bought it, when I bought the fruit tree, it showed all these big, huge peaches, and they were perfect. Why aren't they growing like in the magazine? Well, the magazine is spraying the hell out of them with chemicals, first of all, and then they feed the tree steroids to make it grow fruit fast and big, and say take pictures of it, and you get it, and you go, wow. Let me tell you something. If you know what you're doing, you can grow bigger apples than your neighbor if you know what you're doing. Thinning them out at the right time, and how to thin them out, and how to feed your tree, how often to feed your tree, what to feed your tree, how often to water your tree. When you do this and have the right number of pollinators in your location and the right tree to cross with, you can't help but have success. Well, folks, I've talked your ears off, and for that, I apologize. Take care, have a great evening, and I'm going to make some further plans. Let's see, hope there won't be shortages. Hope there won't be shortages. Let's see what we got here. Thank you. Oh, thank you too. Thank you very much. All of you. Thank you for your insight. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh my goodness, see people stopped in and said hello, and I want to talk to you, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you ever so much. Thank you. I just want to truly enjoyed chatting. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good evening, and remember, I'm gonna try to do the show as often as I can, as long as people watching. Uh, but I just spend so much time thinking about it, doing it, and I can't wait for the weather. It's 25 degrees here in Maryland right now. 25 degrees in Maryland. It might be 26. Let's see if we actually reach that high today. Oh, 22 degrees. Excuse me. 22 degrees. I brought in my house. I brought in my house my grapevine. I don't know why I did that. It was in a pot, but it was getting cold out there, and I said, "Oh, I better bring it in." And I don't know if it made it because it's when I break it off, I see certain branches that are completely dried, and I want to make certain that it makes it. Thank you very much. Have a blessed evening. Thank you. Um, and now I want to tell you that I brought in my pomegranate tree, and I definitely um, brought in my. It's called a. And the plant just leafing out. It's just leafing out like crazy. So is the pomegranate. Um, and I think some of my potatoes are starting to try to grow in the house. Um, and oh, and folks, don't forget, try to grow some ginger. Ginger's so healthy for you. It's a shame not to put that in a container and grow it. Learn how to grow it, or next time I have a show on, ask me how to grow it, and I'll see what I can do to give you some information. But when it warms up, I want to stick. I hope I don't have to rebuy this grapevine. It's the only one I have that's called the Neptune, large white grape, sweet, tangy flavor, table grape, and I want to grow it. And if I get this plant up and going, I won't make the mistake of not putting it in the ground this year, and also get it out of the container. In other words, put it in the actual in the ground. And I'm planting it right next to a tree. My good friend, Food Forest Permaculture, was saying that it'll use the tree as a scaffold. It'll grow all through the trees, and you'll have a peach tree slash grapes. So looking forward to that in one of my trees. So that's how it works. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Morning Garden Show, and I want to thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much, and have a good day. And remember to keep on growing. Keep right on growing. And knowledge helps you do that. All right.